Hello everyone, my name is Sarah the Rainbow Hearted Witch, and I haven't done a video response in a while, so this one is from Marlene Theresa. This is the hashtag tarot to the extreme. The first one is, what is a minimalist card versus maximalist? So I will show you what I do not like minimalistic decks. And I learned that the hard way after getting the Prism Tarot. If you remember my review of this, this was honestly the most frustrating deck I have worked with. I will have to work with it some more to become comfortable with it, I feel, because it is very minimalistic in the sense that, yes, it's colorful, and I love that. It's very colorful. However, the color, there's not really much going on. It's really just a color and then symbols. So is this a major arcana? Is this a minor arcana? Is this a king or a queen? I couldn't tell you. So without looking at the book, I would have to look at the book. It's minimalistic in its artwork. And I wouldn't be able to just pull this out and be like, let me give you a reading. Unless I had the book. And then I would just feel stupid. So it's a beautiful deck, but very frustrating. I mean, this gilding is gorgeous. Sometimes beautiful decks let you down. This beautiful deck sure did. And I realized I will not be purchasing any more minimalistic decks, no matter how colorful or beautiful they are, because I just can't read with them. Now, then versus, so the first is minimalist versus maximalist. This Spectrowhirl, I don't know why I want to always call it Spectrowhirl, but it's Spectro, it is whirl. I guess I want to call it Spectrowhirl Tarot. So this is the Spectrowhirl Tarot, art by Benjamin Allen Simon. And I love the colors and the vibrancy. So this is a tarot deck that did, I mean, look at these backs, you guys. Yeah, okay, they're not gilded, but who cares? Look at the backs. So even though it's colorful, it's a maximalist. I love it because you have, you know, it's king of coins, queen of coins. So that's the pentacles. Here's the fool. Like, there's a lot going on. It's an explosion of color, but there's symbolism in here, and there's, you know, you can be like, oh, I see the symbols. Okay, here's the lion for the strength card. The light guiding your way through the darkness. That's beautiful. The Wheel of Fortune, you've got the wheel. So this is color done correctly. This is vibrant and colorful, and there's so much going on, and these are definitely maximalistic cards, and I prefer maximalistic cards. I'm just a maximalist anyway with everything. More is more, less is less, and less isn't always better, especially when you're dealing with symbolism and you're dealing with the cards. I need symbols. More symbols, the more colors, the better. All right. So next is daytime versus nighttime. So I don't differentiate my cards like that. I use my cards whenever, but just to play along with this, for my daytime, I'm going to say my Trippin Waite. It's just so fun. And when you have the overhead lights on, you can really see the stars. And I don't have overhead lights on, so you can't see the stars. But in my video where I did a walkthrough of this, you could see it. But this deck is stunning. And it's bright and it's colorful, and it reminds me of, you know, daytime and summer and just being your extroverted self. This would be my daytime deck. And nighttime would be also by Tarot Collectibles. Now, I use my black light day or night. It doesn't matter. However, you know, it just probably looks better at night. So my night would be the Black Light Tarot by Tarot Collectibles. because right now I'm gonna just show you what it looks like in the daytime. I will link the video of what it looked like under the black light, but these cards are so fun under black light. The next is Best Shuffle. I usually, you know, most of the decks I have shuffle pretty well. So this was kind of difficult. You know, my pocket Thoth, my regular Thoth, pretty much any standard size tarot deck is going to shuffle well. However, sometimes they like to make them thinner. Sometimes they like to make them longer. Sometimes they like to make them a little thicker with cardboard. And so when they change the size up and they change the materials used, it can make it a little bit more difficult. So this is Best Shuffle versus Worst Shuffle. Now, this is my Ask the Witch tarot. And it's a little bit thicker than a standard deck. And it's pretty glossy, but because it's glossy, it shuffles. And it's a little bit almost too big for my hands here, but because of the glossiness, it just shuffles like a dream. I have too much on this table. All my tarot decks are out, so it feels pretty cramped here on my desk. So yeah, that shuffles pretty well. I don't mind when cards fly out at me. I actually like that. I read those. I feel like it's spirit really trying to get my attention. That's just me being me. But anyway, so I would say, you know, this is a pretty good shuffle, even though it's not quite the standard size or thickness. It is a little thicker than normal cards, but because it's so glossy and almost plasticky, it shuffles like a dream. Now, compared to the next two, because I couldn't decide which was a worst shuffle. I have two that are pretty difficult to shuffle, and they're difficult to shuffle for different reasons. I will start with this big boy right here, the Enchanted Tarot, the 25th anniversary edition. So look at these babies. I did a review on this in my channel a year or two ago. Look at how long this is. I mean, come on. Way bigger than my hands. I can't shuffle overhanded. In my video, I said, you know, the best way is to just kind of shuffle a little bit and then just fan it out and have the person that you're reading for pick the cards, or you pick the cards, because these are a beast to shuffle. I am not a fan of how long these are. There's no reason for it to be that long. And then the next one, because it was really between these two. So as these are so long, I mean, these are longer, about as long as the box, maybe, yeah, pretty much the same size as this box. Now, the problem with, I love this deck, but I don't use it as much as I would like to, because you guys, look at the size. Look at the size of these cards. So these are not as long, but look at how wide they are. It's like, are you serious? All right, I had Ask the Witch out. I'm going to pull it out again. I'm going to show you. So this is a card from Ask the Witch. Look at that. Look at how much wider it is and longer. And then this one, of course. So this one's wider too. So it's long and wide. So both of these are wider than normal and longer. I don't like that. Like, the Ask the Witch is honestly, like, that's about as long as I can go, or else it's too big for my hands. But that shuffles pretty nicely. But these bad boys, forget about it. Like, I can't look at this. I'm like, okay, I can do it, but it is such a struggle and it's a mess. So same thing with this one. It's like, and they're sticky, like they stick. So these are sticky. They're thick. You know, I would really love to use this deck because look at the artwork. It is beautiful. I love the artwork and I love the messages that I get from this. However, it's no fun to shuffle. And shuffling is part of the experience when you're reading cards. And if you can't shuffle, then it takes away from the experience. Even though I love both of these, sorry, I didn't really do a flip through of what the cards look like, because I know these are more of like an embroidered kind of look to them, kind of old-fashioned, and they're beautiful. I love how, you know, beautiful these are. I appreciate that. However, it's like if you can't shuffle the cards, it's no fun. All right, so the next is Confronting versus Comforting. So I don't really like using confronting cards. I would say probably the most confronting deck I have is the Thoth deck, but it's more, I don't think it's really necessarily confronting. I don't think the Thoth deck is really confronting, as it is more straightforward. It's more like, this is what it is. So this is my standard size Thoth. I use my mini one a lot, honestly. But see, these are so much smaller, I have to literally zoom in so you can see the pictures. So I don't think there's anything really scary in here, but it is more of a dark deck. And especially if you're starting out, like when I started out and reading with these cards, I was scared. Like, I don't know if it's the connotation with Crowley or if it's just the imagery. It could be everything kind of like tied in, that it's like, oh, this deck is so scary. But the more you work with it, you realize it's not so scary. It's more, it just tells it like it is. It just is like, okay, this is what it is. This is what you need to do. This is the outcome as where you stand now. And so, is it all like flowers and roses? No. But I don't like decks that are just all like positive either. I want something that's going to tell me the way it is. So that's my confronting deck, which I don't really think it's confronting. I think it's just honest. And there's nothing wrong with honest. I've been accused of being a little too honest. Now, if I want a comforting tarot, I pull something from Hay House. Anything from Hay House is going to be more fluffy, and it is going to be more of the like angels and the pretty fairies, not like real fairies, but like the pretty fairies. Because anyone who really works with the fairies know that yes, there can be some pretty fairies, but they can also be pretty fierce as well. Now, anything from Hay House, which the Psychic Tarot by John Holland is by Hay House. This deck is scary accurate. It's so accurate with its readings, but it does it in a gentle way. But you're like freaked out. You're like, oh my God, that is so true. And what's great is it also has chakra cards in here. So it's a combo. This is actually a tarot / oracle deck. So instead of having like the scary things like death or they change the wording of things. So nothing's really like super scary. So some people, you know, like that. And so even though this deck takes a positive spin, so like this is the death card, but it's really transformation. It takes the negative and flips it to a positive. It still gives the meaning that needs to get across. I really like that. I love the symbolism, and I love the pictures, and I love the colors. And the book is great. This deck is wonderful. Especially when you want to hear the truth and you want to be like, okay, yeah, you called me out. You want to be called out without being like, you know, getting your feelings hurt. This one is perfect. Next, we have everyday versus every so often. So honestly, the deck that I use every day is my Thoth, but I figured everyone's sick of seeing my Thoth, so I would change it up and say my Light Seers. because the way that Marlene talks about it is it's more of like what deck kind of relates to your everyday life. And I feel like the Lightseers Tarot by Chris Ann is a modern day retelling of the archetypal energies of the tarot. These are people you would see in your everyday life and the people that we see today. So it's a very modern take, and I appreciate that. So that is why I picked the Lightseers. I may not personally work with this every day. However, these people who represent the archetypes, it's just very modern. It's a modern take. And I love this, how she's, represents, she's like the lion. You have the infinity sign as her tattoo, which is very, modern. And then, it represents the yin and yang, the balance as well, where she's strong yet soft. So, yeah, this deck is really, it's a beautiful deck, and I do like working with it. I don't work with it as much as I probably should. I mean, look at that sun card. It is gorgeous. Because this deck really does speak to me in more modern language than, say, like the Thoth, or even something like the Enchanted Tarot. Just because this is just, it's modern, it's updated. All right, and then versus an every so often deck. So I, of course, picked a Halloween deck because I obviously don't use it. I use it about, 2 months out of the year, September and October. And that is my Halloween tarot. Okay, so this deck I only use about once or twice a year. This is the Halloween tarot, and I love this. It is so much fun. I have a video up from 2 years ago where I do a reading with this. Fall used to always be my favorite time of year. Some would argue it still is, but yet it isn't, because spring in Arizona is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. I love the orange trees that blossom here, and just seeing the desert in bloom. It is gorgeous. But growing up in New England, where there's very much fall, I did not like spring in New England because it's very muddy and I can't stand mud. So I loved fall because you could still have pretty warm days and then have cool nights. And the leaves are just so beautiful. I do miss the leaves and the crispness in the air and just all of that. This deck is just fun for the fall season. And I don't do readings with it outside of Halloween. Next, we have the Overrated deck versus an Underrated deck. So right away, I'm going to say Overrated is the Modern Witches tarot deck. This was all over, what do you guys call this? Tarot tube? This deck was everywhere. And I don't know what happened. It's weird because when I first got it, I was like, I am not going to be able to shuffle this. It is so stinking thick. It's like the thickest deck I own. And for some reason, I thought it felt very like cardboardy. But when I pulled it out again, I've had this for a year or two. Look, it's so thick. It hardly, I mean, it does, and it's glossy, so it does shuffle. So my Ask the Witch deck is thick as well. Let's see which one's thicker. Okay, yes. So I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, they're pretty lined up. So this Ask the Witch is like really thick. but I can still shuffle it. And this one is the Modern Witch Tarot, and it's still thicker. It is so stinking thick. I don't know what's going on with the thickness. Let me pull out my Halloween tarot again, because this is more of like a standard size. Whew. See, and these are so slippery. This Modern Witch was honestly gonna potentially be like worse, but if it's in my hand, so I can shuffle. Okay, so yeah, look at that. You can straight up see this is like how much thicker it is than a normal deck, like very thick. The only reason why I really haven't worked with this that much, this is the deck I'm working with this week, honestly. It's okay. It's okay. It's just, it's nothing special. It's nothing, there's nothing like that stands out. That's like, wow. This is like the best deck of my life. I get it that the women on here are non-binary. There's some non-binary women, and it is women-centric. And there's, you know, multicultural, which is good. It's inclusive, which is awesome. So I'm not sure if that's the reason why this got really hyped up, but the book is nothing like fabulous. It's nothing to like write home about, honestly. I'm not like, wow, I've learned so much from this. The book isn't that great, and I mean, it's okay. But there's nothing in here that's like, it just blows me away. So I would definitely say that the Modern Witch Tarot this is by Lisa Sturl. I would say this is overrated. It's just, it's not really necessarily anything groundbreaking, revolutionary. It's okay. I mean, I'm not upset that I bought it. If it says witch in the title, I'm probably gonna get it, you know. So it's most overrated versus underrated. I'm sure you guys are gonna guess what I'm gonna say is underrated. It's this one right here, Our Tarot. I don't see many people talking about this, and I love this book that Sarah Shipman put together. It contributes so much to tarot and women and in history, and I love that the cards are more pocket size, and I love that, you know, we have the type of card it is and the person who represents the archetype of the card. I just love these because there's not like a lot of symbolism, especially the traditional symbolism in here, but there's still enough that you get the idea. And then especially if you take time to read the book and you're like, okay, you can associate the woman. I love the size of the deck. I love the women represented. I love reading about them. And this is just like a really good feel-good deck. I just really, really enjoy working with this deck. So I don't see many people discussing it. It's not all over TarotTube. But Sarah Shipman did an amazing job, and I just absolutely adore this deck. All right, the next is Lightwork versus Shadow Work. And how Marlena explains that is that like Lightwork is just for your everyday, and then the Shadow Work is of course what's hidden even from you. For everyday, again, it would be boring if I used my Thoth. I thought I would pull out the Muse Tarot, also by Chris Ann, because she just makes such beautiful decks that are just so much more like modern, and they're light, and they're not very scary. The imagery, they're beautiful cards. They read really well. And you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, I hate the message. You really called me out. Like, or you see the image and you're like, okay, that's really terrifying. You know, nothing like that in here. Versus shadow work. So the shadow work cards, I know everyone talks about. I bought this deck just for this because it was huge on TarotTube and everyone discussed it. I think it's called Tarot of the Vampires or something, but the book is this by Ian Daniels. And I actually gave this, I borrowed this from my husband because I actually ended up giving this to him because this is a little too dark. But right here, right off the bat in the book, you can see it's talking about fear and shadow. So eventually, I feel like this book offers a lot of information. It's almost 300 pages long, if not 300. Okay, so it's 301 pages. So I do plan on reading this book at some time to do shadow work with this deck, but this deck is very dark. Even the light cards, like, look at that. That is the sun, and that's pretty dark. Here we have the Emperor. So these cards are dark. The images are dark, and they are kind of frightening. I think this deck would have been cool if it was edged, if it had been edged in black. So anyway, I don't use this deck, but my husband does, and he loves it, and I know a lot of YouTubers love this deck. But I'm going to show you what I use for shadow work because it's creepy and cute. Sorry, actually cute and creepy tarot, which I use this. This was the deck that I worked with last week. This is a new deck to me. And I will be doing a full review of this coming up shortly. But I absolutely love this. So it uses monsters, but makes them cute. And I absolutely love this because if you're doing shadow work, it's like, okay, what's my monster? But you can look at it, you know, what's lurking underneath? What do I need to work on? But it's not scary. It's cute. And so this is what I like to use for my quote unquote shadow work. There's depth to this card and symbolism. I actually really like this. Has become, I would say this is going to be top 10, if not top 5 favorite decks. I adore this deck. And this is an indie deck. Let's see. Art by Misha. I was watching a video about new releases. I think it was for August. And I was watching it kind of late in the month. And she had a Oracle deck. I think it's the Cute and Creepy Oracle deck coming out on Kickstarter. And I missed it by like literally 4 days. However, I went to her website and I found that she had the Cute and Creepy Tarot. And I was like, that is so cute. I have to have it. So I ordered that. I'm just waiting for the Oracle to go on her website so I can buy her Oracle because I love her artwork. She's an artist and a tattoo artist. And she really took the time to learn the symbolism and the meaning of the cards, and how she represents them is just beautiful. And then in her book, she says who the mythical creature is in the card. So here is the companion guide. And I just absolutely love this. I got the signed copy. So let's look up 8 of Swords. So this is a Banshee from Irish Myth. So she says what the monster is and where the myth comes from. So I just really, this is my new favorite deck. I love working with this deck. It is just so fun. It's not too dark. It's not too creepy. It doesn't scare the heck out of me, and it gets the messages across without being, because it's, you know, I'm weird. I don't want things to like abstract like the Prism Tarot. Even though I love color, I need to have substance. I need to have my cards have depth. I started out reading like Doreen Virtue's angel cards, which they're beautiful, and of course Oracle is different, but I still don't really like my Oracle decks without much substance to the painting. I don't want my tarot cards or my Oracle cards to be abstract. I want them to have symbols and pictures that are recognizable and that you can see, because these cards where they just like splatter paint, I can't get behind. I don't like that. All right, so that is it for this video response. I will link the original video down below. She does a much better job explaining like her take on it, but I just wanted to do my take on the cards. So even though we're all tarot readers, we all have different preferences and different styles, and I know that a lot of decks that are popular are kind of more abstract, and you're not gonna really find that with me. The Prism deck I will probably try to work with again in the future, but if it doesn't work out for me again, I may be finding a new home for it, because even though I like to collect cards, why keep something that you're not gonna like use? And just like anything, not every deck is for everyone, and I'm starting to, now that I've been collecting for a few years, I know what to look for. I want there to be like the number of the card, and I want to know, is it, you know, the swords, or what deck is it? Is it a major, and what kind of major? Is it a king or queen, a page, a knight? You know, I want that on the cards, and I want symbols. So I'm sorry I keep harping on this. It's just that I feel like these really simple tarot cards are just, I feel like it's the person being lazy, because to me tarot cards are about symbolism and really tapping into your unconscious or your subconscious. And I mean, maybe everyone's different, and maybe some people, you know, just seeing like what looks like ink blocks will tell them a story, but that doesn't work for me. But I rambled on enough, so I will see you guys next week. Bye guys. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching my video. I had so much fun uploading it. I upload videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Check them out. I also have a buy me a coffee if you would like to support this channel monetarily. So the links are down below, and I will see you all next week. Bye guys.